My name's Emily. I am a freelance event professional, and that means that I work on a whole different range of events in music, from festivals to concerts and gigs, and all sorts in between that, sporting as well. I specialize in production and site coordination. So that's more the planning and curation of an event and making sure that all the schedules are lined up when you're dealing with suppliers. I do stage management, I do artist liaison. I'm also looking to get into tour management, and I've done also merchandise management for different shows of tours. I also work a lot with staff management, so that's like recruiting different staff and volunteers for events. So that could be like ticket scanning or people that are working on a sustainability team. I've done sustainability management. That's kind of where my career is at the moment. Yeah, so how I got into being in music events, I basically, when I was early teens, I became obsessed with going to concerts. I would spend all the money that I earned at my little weekend job on concert tickets and merch. I was probably your typical fangirl at that age. And then it wasn't until I got to about 15 or so, 16, when I was doing my GCSEs and then looking at A-level options. And obviously, when you're looking at A-level options, you don't have to think ahead to university, but I was like, I kind of want to plan relevant A-levels towards what I want to then go on and do. And me and a friend were looking at university courses, and she discovered this one called music business, which I'd never heard of. And I thought that sounds perfect to me because I love like everything to do with music. I was just always listening to music, always going to gigs. And I thought, well, why can't I turn this into a career? I'm not necessarily musical. I did a bit of piano lessons when I was 13 or 14, but I didn't necessarily have any talent, but I still wanted to be involved in that industry. So I set my sights on doing music business at university, and then for my A levels at sixth form, I chose an A level in business, and then I did a um, BTEC diploma in production arts, which I think is quite niche. My school, for some reason, had that on offer. So I did that alongside my A-level business, and it was like the best thing that I've ever done. It was like all backstage theatre, so I learned stage management, costume, lighting design and operation and sound. And yeah, it was really, really cool. I got to work on like Beauty and the Beast as stage manager. And it sounds like a bit a bit rubbish when you're like, oh, it's only the school production, but we had big budgets. It was like it was a really good experience that I got from that. So once I'd done that, I had successfully got into University of Gloucestershire to do music business. Um, and I'd applied to do a sandwich year, which meant that I did my 3 years of university with a placement after my second year. But unfortunately, COVID hit in my second year, so I never got to do that placement, which I think at the time seemed like the end of the world because I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to get any experience now? But during uni, even though my degree was music business and I'd kind of gone in like, I maybe want to be an artist manager, but also I want to be in events. I quickly realized that I didn't want to be an artist manager because I started managing a band in first year and it was awful. I just realized that I wasn't suited to that. So then I just tailored all of my modules that I was learning towards events. So my dissertation was about events. My final major project was a small drum and bass tour around the Southwest. Um, And yeah, I just took every opportunity that the uni gave me. My course and lecturers were really great at like offering, even in my first year, was stage managing at local festivals of stages that had like 5,000 people. So yeah, I got lots of great experience from that. And then once I'd left uni, I was quite set up in, I had fair few contacts in Cheltenham. I originally came from Bournemouth, but I decided to stay in Cheltenham where I went to uni. Um, and I got some freelance work alongside my part-time job at Tesco and just kind of was building that up until I met a woman that I then went into a full-time job with. She was a freelancer herself before and then had taken on too much work. So I worked for her company, which was like an event production and management agency in Cheltenham. I did that for 2 years, which was great. There was a lot of festivals to begin with that we did. So I site coordinated a Michael Bublé show on Bath Royal Crescent. And I did Boomtown and Victorious Festival campsite management. But then gradually the music stuff started fading out of this company. And it was a lot of corporate-based stuff. And that's when earlier this year I decided to make the leap into freelance myself, because I'd learned a lot from the woman that I'd worked with before. And it made me confident enough to be able to take that next step and go back into what I wanted to do and focus also more on touring, which is what I set out to do at uni as well. So yeah, very long story, but that's kind of how I got into it.
The Outstanding Map Graduate Award winner goes to Emily Pugh.
The OMG Awards, Outstanding Music Graduate Awards, they celebrate the successes of the institutions and universities that help us become the professionals that we are now, and help us develop throughout our time there. And I really enjoyed it for the fact that I graduated 3 years ago and I hadn't really had a chance to properly reflect and appreciate what I've achieved since I finished uni 3 years ago. I didn't expect to win it at all. As soon as they started calling out the runners up and I wasn't on the list, I was like, oh no, that then definitely not. And then when I got called out as the winner, it just really took me by surprise. And I know I always kind of doubt that um I'm achieving. I think I'm quite hard on myself of like already if I'm not working on arena tours, like I'm not doing well. But I think it allowed me to then step back and appreciate that no, actually 3 years out of uni, I'm my own company, I'm my own boss. I'm working on really cool events. I did Glastonbury this year. And I really loved that it brought us all together, people that I'd not met before from other universities and colleges as well, and just celebrate each other's wins. My standout has definitely been like just taking that leap to go freelance and believing in myself enough. I think a lot of people have it in their heads just from the way that we're taught is that you need to join a company and work your way up the ranks. And that's not necessarily always the case. And even at uni, I kind of didn't really appreciate that I could do it as my own boss and kind of take on the jobs that I wanted to do rather than working for somebody else. And it doesn't suit everyone. You've got to be really motivated. But as long as you are motivated and you've got those goals behind you, then I think it's definitely achievable for a lot of people. I think as well, when I was at Gone Wild Festival this summer, it was my first time there and it's a very family orientated festival because it's Bear Grylls'. And I was working long shifts. I was in the production office, which was a great role. And I obviously had gone to concerts since I think my first was when I was 8. And I stood up on the sound tower watching out over the McFly crowd and saw all these kids on their parents' shoulders. and kind of was like, this could be the start of their journey. Like I was in the exact same position. My dad took me to a concert the first time, and this could spark their love for music and love for concerts. And maybe we're seeing the next generation of event professionals. I mean, like 8 years old, they've got time. But yeah, it was just really nice to see, and kind of that full circle of I'm I'm now giving back that experience that I had, which is what I set out to do when I wanted to go into the music industry and into events, is being a part of that amazing experience that concerts and festivals brings to anyone, but especially young people. Yeah, so the music industry in the UK and across the world is so competitive. And I think that everyone needs to have that in mind before they enter into the music industry. You've got to be quite thick-skinned, ready for a lot of challenges and maybe some rejections and setbacks. But that doesn't mean that the music industry isn't for you. You've just got to be quite resilient, and with that comes a lot of proactiveness. Don't expect the work to come to you, or don't expect the contacts to come to you. You need to go out and find those people that you want to work with or you want to make music with, and start those relationships. Once you've got a good network, then work might come to you, and you can kind of relax a bit more. But definitely starting out, you need to, like, everyone will say this, that you meet in the music industry is all about your network and all about keeping those contacts. And like it's so true, as much as I hate to sound like a lecturer. Um, and also about setting realistic targets. Don't go like into university thinking I'm going to come out of this with like an EP that's gonna like hit the top 10, or I'm gonna come out of this working straight away for Sony. Um, I mean, it could happen, but it requires a lot of hard work. And I mean, I literally was watching a TikTok about Chapel Roan earlier, and the fact that she's been trying and trying to break the industry for like 10 years or something. And it's only really recently happened, but you don't really see that groundwork until they get to where they are. Um, and I think a good way to network, I've found as well, especially amongst the peers that I work with, not necessarily management, but swapping social media. Um, like emails is a bit tricky because it's always like, is that person going to reach out? Or like, what do I need to include in this email? Just add each other on LinkedIn, or even if you set up a business Instagram, then you've got a really quick way of keeping that interaction going, sending short messages, reacting to posts. And that's how I found I've maintained my contacts mostly, is through LinkedIn or Instagram. I'd say is definitely two really good ones to have. Um, and yeah, just be friendly, be really nice, be up to get stuck in and whatever. I've had jobs where I've been like cleaning the bins down so they look presentable for when the show goes live. It's that sort of thing. Like, you can't be too precious. The music industry is not actually glamorous. And just a willingness to get stuck in and just be really helpful goes a long way, because then people will remember you and want to work with you again. And that's the same if you're a musician. Don't go in with an ego, because it will get shut down very quickly. But yeah, just be nice and friendly, and it will get you a long way.